Well, thanks for doing this.
Again.
Yeah. Take two.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. No, but I really wanted to put this together so you guys can give your grandkids kind of your spoken legacy,
Good.
which, well,
It's easier than writing it down.
Yeah, and not to mention
Yeah.
the
Definitely easier than
your kids' because I'm sure you'll tell us some things that we didn't know.
Could be.
So, but I think the first thing that would be kind of fun would be to hear how you ended up going to a boarding high school. I mean, most of our kids are a little older than when you guys had the opportunity to go, except for maybe Tenley. So it'd be like next year Tenley would head off to
Yep.
Oh,
a
that's
college or college/high school.
high school. Yeah,
That was how far? What, 2.5, 3 hours away from where you guys lived?
It was.
it was an hour and a half from
I think it was
Dearborn,
a couple,
and I think 2 hours from hers.
probably. I don't remember for
She
sure.
was in Flint.
But something like that.
Okay, but how did you even get the opportunity to do it? Because you were first, I think.
I was. I went as a junior in high school. I guess I had very good persuasion
But
tactics.
how did you even know that high school stuff was there? Because that
Well-
I'm not sure I was
Well, Mary Lee, my sister, who's 3 years older,
when.
went as a freshman to college, and we had been really good pals. We did everything together, and I really missed her. And so she was gone for a year when I was a sophomore, and then I honestly don't know how I talked my folks into sending me. But I thought it would be really fun. I'd get to stay in a dorm, and it felt like being a college student, really. So they let me go.
So you would have been junior year between 16 and 17?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds right.
And I mean, I wasn't that far from home, but I also was very interested in the boys that were there, to be real truthful. I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to go. I loved the quartets.
The
from
college
Spring Arbor.
boys.
So, I mean, and this is a different thing. We don't see this, but there was groups that were part of your denomination, the Free
Yes.
Methodist Church, that would travel, and you would see people,
Yes.
and then there was a connection that, oh, these individuals go to college in
Right.
Spring Arbor. So Spring Arbor was this
Right.
kind of place.
They represented
Yes.
Spring
Yes.
Arbor when they went.
Yeah.
And I actually knew quite a few of the kids that were already there. Because I guess Mary Lee being 3 years older and her friends and stuff. And
So how big would the high school have been? How big would the college have been? Just to give our kids kind of perspective.
Senior class had 33 people in it.
Okay. So
The high school.
The high
senior
school,
high school.
senior class.
So
Yep.
Tenley has a class of 40.
yeah.
And
That's
they,
bigger than
they
we were.
cap it at 40 per class.
Do
So
they?
that's what their school is. So that's about as big as
That's
it was.
about
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
And actually at that time, didn't they have all 4 years there?
yes.
So
yeah.
there were
But some of the
freshmen-
younger ones, like the freshman
They
class,
didn't stay in
may
the
only
dorms.
had 15
Oh.
people in it or something like that.
They did not
I
stay
did
in the
not know
dorms
that.
though. Just the juniors
They were
and
from the
seniors.
community.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In fact, I'm not even sure all the juniors stayed in the dorm. Maybe they made an exception for us.
Or maybe
I don't
they
know.
had some host families or something.
Well, I
No.
think the majority of them were from the community.
From the community. Yeah.
And so they had a place to go home where you didn't as a junior. And you had to.
But they did make a special room for Donna Corser, Meredith McClellan, and me. We were a 3-person in the
Post house.
post house that had not had anybody in there before, I don't think, in that room. So they made something special for us. I don't know why. But it was fun. We had a good time.
Cool.
How did you find out about it then?
We were at Winona Lake Youth Camp, which was the nationwide youth camp,
For Free Methodist.
the summer before we went.
Okay.
And Dick Gilroy, who was living in Lima, Ohio at that point, had been in Dearborn. We'd grown up together. He was the one that was pushing it. He was a junior. And I didn't have any idea. I mean, we were there, and he started talking about it. And next thing I know, I was headed to Spring Arbor because I was in a split year. I mean, today they don't even do that, but I would have graduated in January
Okay.
on purpose. I mean, they had January terms and they had September starts, and
Which
most of the people who were at January and stayed at home for a half a year working or something before they go
They
to
went to
school.
school, yeah.
Well, I was able to pick up a half a year.
by transfer.
Etzel Ford had enough credits so that I was only like 10 hours short for the whole year. And so,
So you weren't technically a senior any longer. You started as a freshman in college.
no, I
No,
started as
no.
a senior,
He did.
but I had enough credits from Etzel Ford
Oh.
to where I didn't need that many more because I would have been short a half a year. I would have graduated in January.
The next January.
Oh.
You'd have been a
Right.
super
So I made
senior.
up a,
Okay.
I made up a half a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But the real reason he went is because he saw me there.
It went on late.
He did.
Yeah,
At
Dick.
Winona Lake.
Dick pointed out that the Voller girls are out there playing,
Softball.
second base and pitching, and well, he wasn't really pointing out Mary Lee because she was 2 years older, 3 years older, but that was the first time I had seen
I'm
her.
just
and,
kidding.
And what was really unusual is that the Vollers, Dr. Elwood Voller, had been in the Navy in World War II. He was stationed in Madison, Wisconsin when Mom and Dad came to Madison, Wisconsin and was stationed there. And the four of them ran around together for however long it was, 6 months or a year, whatever.
And how old were you guys?
I was born there.
Oh,
So they
okay.
ran around before you.
They carried me around as if I were theirs.
Okay.
And that's your uncle.
And
My
that's her
uncle.
uncle.
Yeah.
And so
That's funny.
we were both very close to them, but didn't know each other.
Yeah, and actually, the two couples said that when Uncle Al and Aunt Beth had a girl that she should marry Jim. But they didn't have Cheryl till they weren't together at that point.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway, he was supposed to marry Cheryl Voller. But he didn't.
But then you were older than her. Was she born later? Or?
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
She's
2
younger.
years?
She's younger a couple years,
Something.
yeah.
Oh, okay. And then obviously you got the couples were no longer there.
Right,
Right,
separated.
but I think they corresponded and stuff.
And we would go to their house up in Davison. We went up there several times. So they stayed in contact after the war.
Yeah.
Well, and interesting that Uncle Elwood ends up being the president of Spring Arbor
Right.
later on.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, there's just all kinds
And
of
calls
Connections.
Dad and asks him if he'll come and help with the computer stuff that was going on there. And he did.
After he retired.
After he
yeah.
retired from
That's right.
from
Forgot
Michigan
about
Bell.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually got to go over and see Grandma and Grandpa quite a bit when
Because
I
you were
was
there.
The
when I was-
freshman year, your freshman
Yes.
year, and then they left. I was mad at them for leaving. You're leaving my son.
Huh. Okay. So anyway, so you guys are there as high school kids,
Senior. Yep.
and then you become romantically interested somehow.
Right.
We dated.
My first memory of him was in a class, and we were checking each other people's papers, and I had his paper, and he had heart spelled H-A-R-T all the way through the paper, and I laughed. I thought it was funny. Come to find out, he cannot spell. I thought it was a joke, but it was not a joke. And that's the first time I remember. And then the funny thing is, I was dating Dick Gilroy, the one that got him to go.
Yeah.
That was his roommate.
Who was a year younger than me.
So he was actually pointing out the Voller girls because he was interested in her.
Oh, I'm sure
no
that
Possibly.
was. I'm sure that was.
No
Yes.
idea. And then I kind of called it off with Dick. I don't know why exactly, but because I think I was interested in him at that time. I can't remember for sure. But anyway, Irene Youngfrau, she did the alumni relations in Spring Arbor a long time after words.
And she was a senior also.
She was a senior that time, and she must have known I liked Jim. And she must have known he liked me. Anyway, she dragged him over the dorm and said, "If you don't ring her bell, I will." And do you remember asking me for a date? I don't remember exactly how that worked, but
The bell got rung.
Yeah, the bell got rung.
Was it you or was it her?
I did it.
Okay.
She was standing over me.
but he
Do it, do
He
it.
was about ready to faint.
Were you
and-
so nervous?
He was.
I was.
He hadn't.
I really hadn't dated.
Yeah.
kind of like Kason.
Or Alex.
Yeah.
Or Swolby.
Yeah, yeah. All of those, all of those grandsons are following my.
But
So the shyness.
anyway,
comes-
we had our
Yeah.
first date was a Walt Disney movie that the college put on, so dear to my heart.
So was that an EP Hart auditorium?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Aw,
Yeah.
we've been there.
We do have that movie.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
it's a video, so I don't know whether I kept it or not.
I think you still have it.
And maybe you can find it on Netflix or something.
Oh,
Oh
sure.
yeah,
But
Yeah. Burl Ives,
It was a cool one.
okay, Burl Ives, who ended up doing a bunch of
Disney stuff.
wasn't he Frosty the Snowman or something?
I think he was.
Yeah, voice.
Or no, or he was the narrator or something.
The voice. Yeah.
To one of the Christmas specials.
Anyway, we dated from October of our senior year,
Your senior year? 'Cause
Both
you were,
of us.
Oh, you were in the
We
same.
were both.
and we
seniors.
both
Okay.
graduated then that year. And then we were both in Spring Arbor our freshman year, and we actually don't tell the grandkids this. We got engaged our freshman year. That's way too early.
So he may have started out shy, but
Yeah, it did
progressed quickly.
He got there.
He got there. Yeah, he did.
He figured that he had something special pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then I went to Michigan State my sophomore year of college because I was interested in home ec education.
So you could have stayed at Spring Arbor because they had freshman and sophomore year.
Yes,
Right. I did.
he did.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
didn't talk about it the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear about your dating experiences with Grandma and Grandpa Voller. And your first date and when she
When
took you home, because you've told us this
Yes.
story,
Yes.
but I think
Good.
it would be fun for the grandkids to
It
hear.
was the first time that you had met my parents, I think. Is that true?
I think I actually met them at Spring Arbor
Okay.
when they came down for a basketball game or something like that.
When she called you Dick?
And she called me Dick.
Whoops!
Yes, we were coming out of the gym, and
Inspires some
oh,
confidence right off. Oh, that was the last guy.
But
First time in our home.
yeah, the first time I went to their house, I think, was this time.
Okay, gotta tell us.
And I was working out
Okay.
at the hospital, and I wasn't home yet. So go ahead.
So it was lunchtime, and Mom made
Hot
Hot
dogs.
dogs.
hot dogs. And I had one, and I had a second one, and that was about
About where you were.
many as I wanted. And she just kept bringing them and kept saying, "Oh, would you like another one?" And yes, of course I. So, how many did I end
I
up?
don't know.
About half a
I
dozen.
don't know.
I was
Hot
going to
dogs.
say, I heard like 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous, but I couldn't stop her.
Huh.
She was trying to make a good impression
Yeah,
on you.
she was, and I
Yeah.
was trying to be. Yeah, I don't know what I was.
You were trying to
Compliant,
oblige.
compliant, I guess.
Oh, that was funny.
And during the summers, Mayor Lee was dating Dwayne Kane, who lived close to Jim.
He lived in Wayne, and we lived in Dearborn, so it was.
And he was he was older, and they kept coming to see Mary Lee and me on weekends, and I was working the night shift, and then I'd get a day off, and I'd stay up all day, to be with him, and then I'd have to go back to work. It was hard. It was a hard summer, kind of.
Huh.
I mean, it was fun, but hard.
So how was the home ec program? I mean, so you went up there from your sophomore through senior year.
I did.
Was that worthwhile?
I think it was worthwhile. I stayed with Aunt Velma and Uncle Don Bert, so that was cool. And
Off campus.
yeah, it was hard because they made me take all sorts of chemistry, and I hated chemistry, and I quit school. In
3
my
times
mind.
at least.
I didn't really quit.
In my
but
mind.
I'd go home and say, I'm not going back. Yes, you are going back, so I'd go back. I finally took biochemistry in the summer all by itself. And I got a B, I think.
With one of the gals from Spring Arbor.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they wanted you to be an organic chemist. So you could deconstruct the menus.
They didn't want home ec to be looked at
As
as
a
an
wimpy thing?
easy course.
It
So
was
they
not.
made
It
it
was
not easy.
Oh man,
It
that's
was
crazy.
not easy.
So that's where all the good recipes and the flavor palette has come from.
Must be.
No, I think she had it before she went there. Actually, she could have done all that on her own.
I could have, I think. But I actually only taught home ec for one semester.
Oh, so you did home ec, but education track.
Yeah. But and then because Jim took a 5th year of college, I couldn't get a home ec job near Michigan State. So I went to summer school and took some courses, and I taught 2nd grade for a year. And then the next year I took 3rd grade. And then I finally got to home ec. And then along came a little boy that made me very sick. You. I was pregnant.
We were in the Air Force.
We will get to that. All right, so let's catch up with. So you decided to follow on to Michigan State after
Right.
your sophomore.
Right.
So now, did you graduate with an associate's degree? Did they do that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and so then you go on
To Michigan State with the intention of teaching math in high school. And when we got there, when I got there, my junior year, the next math class was something
Trigonometry.
that required having taken it already, which I had done. But at Spring Arbor, the guy that taught math said, you don't need to memorize all these integrals and differentials. I mean, you'll always have reference books. You need to know how to do it. You need to know how to use it, but you don't need to memorize it. So we got to Michigan State. They expected you to have memorized the whole previous year
Oh man.
and have all these things in your head so that you could then go and do differential equations.
See, I think this was a Michigan State thing. Oh, you think we're weak? Oh no.
Oh, they were not weak. No, in fact, we took first semester. We took not we, but there was a guy there that
Yeah,
had come
not me.
from Spring Arbor that lived in the same
Apartment building.
apartment building that we did, and he took physics along with me. The two of us took it together, and there were 3 levels of physics. We took the level that physics majors took because they wanted it to be tough. We had 2 tests, a midterm and a final, and we didn't know that we didn't know until after the midterm.
Oh man.
And we both got Fs.
And I think Wendell, he had graduated. Wasn't he the salutatorian?
He was an A student. There was no
Yeah,
doubt
he was-
about that.
Yeah.
And so we were going 3 terms a year. Actually, there were 4 if you counted the summer, instead of 2 semesters
Oh.
like most everybody else did.
Yeah.
So after two terms, in other words, 2/3 of the way through the year, I had a year's worth of required math classes that were sort of basic that I would have to go back and take over again.
Aw.
So at that point, I started looking for other majors,
Majors.
and all of a sudden, accounting. I'll
Presented-
try that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like this. That's why I ended up with 5 years, because all my senior level stuff, you couldn't take it all at once. You had to. There was a sequence
Right.
to it,
Yeah.
and so I pushed it out to the 5th year.
Which reminds me, we did get married in December of our junior college year.
Okay, so we're going to get to that, but
Okay.
we're going to take a
Wait
small
a little
break.
bit. Okay.
And then we're going to come back to that, because I know people are thinking right now, oh, we can get married our junior year of college. No, that's not necessarily true.
I'm not so sure about that. It worked fine for her.
Okay, so we'll come back to that in a second, and then we will we'll unpack that.
Okay.